Could it be I stayed away too long? Did I leave your mind when I was gone? Oh my gosh, I have been much busier than I want to be. Today we have part 2 of Secrets of a Sparrow, written by the legendary Diana Ross. So I'm not using a teleprompter, but I do have my notes. I just turned the air on. Siri, what's the date today?
It's Friday, April 10, 2026.
By the way, it's my mother's
You're welcome.
By the way, today is my mother's birthday. Happy birthday, Mama. So, originally published in October 1993, new copies of Secrets of a Sparrow are rare or out of print, though reprints and paperback editions occasionally surface. Due to copyright legalities, I can only read excerpts from Ms. Ross's narrative memoir. However, I will also offer my commentary and critique in this video. First, allow me to say I am not a fan of Diana Ross. I've worked with Diana Ross on the American Music Awards show, and I have attended a few of her concerts. So if you want to see my video of I worked with Diana Ross, you'll find it among my YouTube videos. Now, if you truly appreciate the elegance and legacy of Diana Ross, then you already understand some things are simply priceless. From my personal collection, I'm offering Diana Ross's Secrets of a Sparrow and Going Back. Going Back, that's her other book. It's an elegant, exquisite book. Lots of photographs of Diana Ross. So you'll find both of these books on my website at dawnmartin.com. So let's get into this video. These are not just books. They're pieces of history, timeless, inspiring, and deeply connected to her legacy. And imagine this, taking one to a Diana Ross concert and having her sign it. Instantly, it becomes something extraordinary, a true collector's treasure. And for those of you who recognize value, they're now available with free shipping on my website at dawnmartin.com. On with this video. Today, I'll be sharing my personal reflections and commentary on Secrets of a Sparrow, the touching and powerful autobiography written by the legendary Diana Ross that truly captures Diana Ross in her own words. Now, let's dive into the life legacy of Diana Ross through Secrets of a Sparrow. Now, in my last video of Secrets of a Sparrow, we stopped on what I'm going to call Chapter 3 because there's no chapter numbers. It's titled, I Sing Because I'm Happy. Okay, so I'm going to have a reading now. This reading is from the chapter, I Sing Because I'm Happy. Page 68. I was Mama's little sparrow because I was quick and thin and loved to sing. My body felt light as a bird, and I would imagine that I could fly away wherever I wanted to go. Freedom was what the sparrow meant to me. Freedom, sensitivity, and delicacy. Mama would sing while she was doing the housework, cooking, cleaning, ironing, or when we walked to church. It was her favorite song, There was a sweetness to Mama's song. It was high tone, but there was a soul in there that felt so vulnerable and strangely sad. It was inside her chest, a sound that gave you goosebumps. My mother had a gospel voice, and she sang, "His eye is on the sparrow," in a loving tempo, very slow. Now, the second part of what I call chapter 3 is her section called Under the African Skies, wherein Diana Ross talks about going to Africa. Diana Ross says that she went to Kenya with her daughters and visited friends of her husband. She speaks of the things she bought in Africa and says that she has an incredible African collection. When Dr. King was assassinated, I thought that someone had just pulled the ground from under my feet. I was in New York watching it all on television, and I, like people throughout the world, was shocked. I just couldn't believe what was happening. I remember seeing him lying there, hoping he would be all right, but knowing deep in my heart that he would not be. It was as if the whole world was falling apart. I was in a deep depression for a long time after he died. He had touched me in a profound way. I felt a sense of hopelessness. It was not just a life that had gone, but something else had left. I felt the pain for Coretta, and I loved her beauty and how regally she held herself. Okay, in the next section titled Down and Dirty, Diana Ross speaks about a few summers when she was young, when her parents sent her to visit relatives in Bessemer, Alabama in the 1950s. She said that those trips south were her first experiences with bigotry. In the North, we accepted a certain way of life, but we did not think of it as segregation. Still, I lived in an all-Black neighborhood, and until I went to junior high school, I had attended all-Black grade schools. To this day, we all believe that my cousin Virginia Ruth was murdered by the Ku Klux Klan. We thought she had been in a car accident, but there were no skid marks, no marks on the car, just her body at the side of the road. Virginia Ruth was the cousin we stayed with when we visited Aunt Willie in Bessemer. And it was Virginia Ruth who was supposed to grow up to be a singer, not me. They called her the girl with the golden voice because she could sing so beautifully. She planned to become a professional singer, and she sang in church. At the time of her death, she had been teaching at Spelman College in Atlanta, driving back and forth from Bessemer to Alabama. Another promising young Black life had been snuffed out. Years later, my brother T-Boy went south and almost got killed. He had gone to a little store and bought a bag of chips. He stood there, opened up the bag, and plopped down a $10 or $20 bill on the counter. The shopkeeper said he didn't have change for a 20, so he just kept the whole thing. Well, T-Boy yelled, "Give me my money! I want my money!" Someone came from the back of the store with a knife to chase him out. And then the police arrived. A policeman pulled out his gun, and T-Boy was very nearly killed as a shot grazed his ear. I lived in California at the time and had to try and get him out of that difficult situation. In the next chapter titled The Primettes, Dinah Ross talks about meeting her neighbor, William Robinson, known to the world as Smokey Robinson. Dinah Ross talks about how the Primettes became a singing group, that her father was opposed to her taking singing seriously, and that he wanted her to go to college. The Primettes continued to rehearse, and soon, when we felt ready, we began to perform at neighborhood parties. We loved performing, and the harder we worked, the hotter our act became. Sometimes we were hired to perform at a large event, and we were announced on the radio, "The Primettes will be performing at such and such a place and such time." The mere mention of our names brought us a great deal of pride and excitement. We may have been young, but we were seriously working toward our goal. We were determined to cut a record. Dinah Ross also talks about how she got Smokey Robinson to listen to her girl group and the day she auditioned for Berry Gordy. Smokey accompanied us to Motown for our audition, to the building we called Hitsville, USA. We were so nervous, we hardly knew what to do with ourselves. There were so many people trying to get record deals at Motown, and we were young high school girls from the projects trying to be recording artists. But what we lacked in experience, we made up in enthusiasm. I was anxious to hear what Mr. Gordy would have to say to us. Of course, we wanted to get signed right then and there. We waited a little while for him to talk to us. It felt like forever. I remember the extreme anxiety of sitting in that room, so afraid, because I knew that Berry Gordy was the man who could make or break us. When he finally came back, he was somewhat encouraging. He liked us. He liked our sound, but he insisted that we were too young for a contract. Go and finish school, work on your music, and then come back and audition again. We were heartbroken. I have never been able to take no for an answer, and he had definitely not seen the last of me. In fact, it was quite clear to me that the relationship had only just begun. Well, we're halfway finished with this book, so stay tuned to my YouTube channel, and I plan to upload part 3 very soon.